YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dion. This is the crazy troll nation of YouTube, because even without face paint on, I'm still a cute ass troll. We start here with chapstick, so we're gonna put that on because if this was in like 4K, y'all would be like, yeah, her lips look like the desert. So thank goodness that you're not watching in 4K. What I wanted to talk to you about today was, did my camera just go lower? Whoop! Alright. Even my equipment is crazy. Everything here is a part of the troll nation, the crazy troll nation. So I wanted to talk to you today about learning to work with different eyeshadows and in different brands. And I'm going to be talking about the Scott Barnes palettes. I have the Color Bomb and this Natural #1 palette, and I'm going to reference it in comparison to Natasha Denona's palettes in general, the ones that have the creamy matte and cream to powder formula, and also the Safari palette, which was pre-creamy matte, pre-cream to powder formula, because they are different. And so let me back up to when I first started wearing makeup and getting serious about it about 16 years ago. I would put on my eye primer and do my lid colors first, and then do my transition shade, crease shades, and all of that, because that's what I was seeing on YouTube. But then I figured out that because I have all of this up here, all of this puffy space, if I just put something on my lid, when I look at you, the only lid color you see is like right here, unless I look down or I blink. And by putting colors in my crease, which is here, that color would be hidden. So imagine me putting a color here, and then when I look at you, you don't see it because of all this puffiness I have going on. And so I learned to take, they call it faking your crease, putting your crease color up here and putting your lid color on your lid and also up into the crease, so that when I look at you, and you'll notice this if you've seen any of my tutorials, you'll notice that I take my lid color all the way up to here. And my crease shade is actually my transition shade, which is up here. So that's something I had to learn, because when I was initially highlighting this entire area, it was just way too bright, because when you put a bright shadow somewhere, it brings that color forward. And so me highlighting all of this, it was just making it look bigger, more puffy, and brighter. And so I had to learn to adjust how I applied my eyeshadow, to best suit my eye shape. And that's why they say, try to follow tutorials from people who have your eye shape. Or if you've learned like how I just explained to you for my eye shape, then I can look at someone's tutorial and they say, okay, you just put this on the lid and put this on the crease. I know to take my lid colors up here and my crease shade even further up. And so, but that's something I had to learn. And so I also had to learn different ways of applying shadow. Seeing YouTube back then, I'm talking about like the 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, I was noticing that they were doing their crease colors, well actually their transition colors first, which were actually going into the crease and also in transition. Then they were putting on their crease shades, which made it easier to blend the crease shade because they already had shadow there from their transition. And then they were doing their lid shades. And so I did that for years, and it worked out fine. It did. Sometimes I would have trouble packing lid above the crease because there was shadow there from my crease shade and also the transition shade. But I rolled with it, and I would just pack it on and everything was fine. Then I found Natasha Denona. Well, I was introduced, I should say, Natasha Denona, and I fell in love with her creamy matte formula and her cream to powder formula. With those shades, for me, and some people don't like this, and you've heard me say it in other videos if you watch them, the creamy matte and the cream to powder, when you put the shadow on and you blend it, it may blend away, and then you just go back and pack it on where you want it, and it does not interrupt that initial blend that you did. And that's why I love those two formulas, because I can put it on, blend it out, and just pack and still have that blend, even though I'm packing more where I want it to be. And so I also realized I liked not having the interference of shadow already on my lid or near my lid when I was placing my lid shades. And so I started doing what I did initially, was doing my lid shades first, then the crease shade, and then the transition shade appeared to blend out the top edge of the crease color. And even watching Natasha Denona's videos, she packs heavy. The first thing she does in all of her videos that I've seen, she packs heavy on the outer corner and then blends it in either with the same shade or with a slightly lighter shade. And then she'll drag up into the crease and she'll pack that on and blend that out. And then she'll usually take her finger and pack a shimmer onto the lid. And so I'm thinking, when did I get away from doing my lid shades first? Because when she packs outer corner, it also goes partially onto the lid. And so I'm like, you know what? These are her shadows. This is how she uses it. I'm gonna try that. And so I fell in love again with doing my lid shades first and my outer corner shades first or second, because those shadows are adhering directly to the primer. There was no shadow there from my transition. There's no shadow there from my crease to interfere with the saturation and intensity of the colors I was placing on my lid. And so I started doing that again, and I loved it. Somewhere in the midst of that, I purchased a Safari palette. I had no interest in it because the reviews were very mixed, and it was on sale on the Natasha Denona website for 50% off. This is a $129 palette. It was half off, and so I'm like, okay, I'll get it. And so this was before I went back to doing my lid colors first. And so when I initially got this palette, I was putting my lid shades, I was on my transition shade, then my crease shade, and putting these on the lid, and the lid shades were not showing up. I have a hideous video. It's one video, but different clips of different days when I was using this palette. I was away from home. The videos are hideous. And number one, because I didn't have on any foundation at all. And then number two, the way my phone was set up and just the lighting, it was just hideous. But I remember saying, okay, this is as good as it's going to get using these shades, and the pigmentation doesn't, it's just not there. And then when I thought about it, I said, you know what, I'm going to keep playing with it. It was half off. I'll just have some fun with it. And I started putting the lid shades first, directly on top of the primer, and the pigmentation was like, pow, it was there. And I'm like, okay, that's what I think some people were missing when they're saying the pigmentation wasn't there, the saturation is weak, the colors don't show up. It's because they were doing a transition and crease first, which does get shadow on your lid, and then trying to put these colors on the lid, and it wasn't showing up. But when you put these directly on top of primer, they show up. So if you have the Safari palette, or if you have a palette where your lid colors are not showing up, put on your eyeshadow primer, do your lid colors first, and then do your crease, and then do your transition. That's when I started loving this palette. And so I redid the looks that I originally did, and if you go watch those videos, you'll be like, that did really make a lot of difference. And the looks I recreated from the first time that they were hideous to the second time doing the lid colors first, it's a world of difference with this palette. And so learn from lessons that I've learned as well. Where I'm at now, I am still doing lid shades first, packing on the crease, because with Natasha, you can pack it on and then blend it out and you're fine. And so using mostly her shadows, I realized I've become heavy-handed packing on shades, because with her shadows, I know I can blend it out with no problem. And so when I got the Scott Barnes, the first one I got was Color Bomb, because there was a code for 30% off. And so I purchased this, and I did a couple looks. I liked the looks, but they were very different. My recreations were very different than the ones that I saw online. And a friend said, okay, first of all, it might have been a placement. I'm like, well, I placed it where they placed it. But because I was packing color on, it's like very intense. And then they sent the same email with another 30% off code. Well, actually, I think it was the same one. So I purchased the Snatchful palette number 1. And you'll see from those videos, I will make sure to upload this one after my current Scott Barnes tutorials. I believe I have 2 looks with Color Bomb and 2 looks with Natural palette number 1. So I will upload this one after that so you can see what I'm talking about. Today is August 28th. Those videos will be uploaded like the middle of September. Yeah, the way my schedule upload is set up. Sweaty as usual. And so what I realized, and if you look at my tutorials with the Scott Barnes palette, my blending was really kind of jacked up. I do like the color combinations, except the color, except, I'm sorry, my number 2 look with the Scott Barnes palette, which was just like a one-off just to use up shades. But the first look with Color Bomb, and do I have a second look with Color Bomb? I'm not sure. But my 2 looks with the Natural palette, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like my blending, some of the crease shades just were not blending the way that I wanted them to. And there's a couple where this area in here, the shadow just was not blending. And I got to the point where I'm like, let me just end this video because there's nothing else I can do. And I wasn't going to do it, take it all off and redo it, because I want you guys to also learn from my mistakes. And so I don't mind messing up and keeping it in the video. And so the problem was, what I realized was, when I was talking to a friend of mine, thank you friend, because even just talking to people helps me process information. And I realized my issue was I was applying Scott Barnes shadows the way I was packing on Natasha Denona Cream to Powder and Creamy Matte formulas. It's completely different formulas. Scott Barnes, you can go in lightly with a fluffy brush. The saturation is there. Even with Natasha Denona, if you take a brush and just tap it on, the pigmentation is there. It may look like it's not. You just pack on more and it's there. But I was so used to just packing on and then blending that when I would pack on Scott's like, okay, this is where you put me. This is where I'm staying. I'm moving in. I unpack my bags. I'm comfortable. Where's dinner? Whereas Natasha, you pack it and blend it, and you know, she just kind of roams around and checks out the environment and just kind of hangs out. Scott's like, I ain't hanging nowhere. This is where you put me. This is where I'm gonna stay. And so I realized I needed to go in lightly with Scott Barnes. Still do the lid colors first, but go lightly with the outer corner shade. Go lightly with my transition and crease shade. Go lightly and blend as I go, versus Natasha just like pow and then you blend it. You can't do a pow with Scott because it's going to stay there. And with Color Bomb, it's a friggin' bomb. If you just toss it there, it's going to stay. And when you try to blend it, it ain't moving. And so I wanted to share that lesson with you. If you have a palette, let me start this sentence over. You may not always be able to use your same technique with every different eyeshadow brand that you use. As I said earlier, Safari is pre-creamy matte, pre-cream to powder. So that's over here. Every other palette I have from her, this is Biba, I have Leela, Circo Loco, Sunset, Metropolis, and her Camel palette. And I'm looking because my palettes are over here. I'm not going to count the eyeshadow palette 10 because that's all metallics and pearl shadows. But the other ones I named, the creamy matte and the cream to powder, you pack them on, you blend them, and then pack them on where you want it. I can't do that with Scott. You got to go slow. And if you're doing your crease, use a fluffy brush. Or if you're using a dense brush, something like this, that's an angled brush, just go lightly on the edge and feather as you go. Whereas Natasha, I would just like pack it on because I know I can blend it later. But with Scott, very lightly, feather in your outer corner, blend as you go. And for your crease shade, take a fluffy brush, not that big. Take a small fluffy brush and just lightly, very lightly, and I should be demoing a color right now, right? Sorry. So put it on your brush, a fluffy brush, this is a small one, and just start to feather it lightly. Instead of like Natasha, I would just like pack it like this and then go back and blend it, and it would be perfect. But with Scott, when I would pack like this, the blend patch, like I'm just sitting where you put me. Like I ain't going nowhere. And so that's something I had to learn. If you have any questions about anything I said or if anything was confusing, let me know. If you've had to adjust your technique according to shadows, write that down below because that may help someone else too. Also, I want to say, if you know you don't like a particular type of shadow, like me and glitter do not get along, and I had a palette and I was just like hell to the no. Like this is just not, I used every shade in the palette about 3 times. It was the Pat McGrath Celestial Mothership Divinity. It wasn't a Mothership, the Mega Divinity something or other. They had a whole bunch of shades and it was less than $60 and it had I think like 2 or 3 mattes in it. And I thought this would be great to try shadows. The glitter and all of that, it was tenacious and getting into my eyes. It was down here on my face. It was on my forehead. You know, it was on my shirt, on my chest, my hands. And I'm like, it must just be me because people were like, okay, it's not problematic, which means, okay, I'm the one having an issue. That's fine. But when you look at reviews, other people had the issue with the glitter and fallout too. Anyway, I'm digressing. It's not personal, it's makeup. If you love something that I don't like, it's okay, it's makeup. It's not a personal attack against you. And I'm still digressing. It just annoys me because some people seem to take it personal if you don't love something that they also love. Back to the video. I am so sorry for all of that. Be okay with trying different techniques with different shadows. If it's a formula you don't like glitter, I can't deal with glitter all over my face and then it won't come off. In my eyes, irritating my eyes, it's a no-no. And so that I know for myself. No glitter, no flaky particles, whatever. But as far as your application, primer, lid shade first, crease shade, transition shade, or if you want to do primer, transition shade, crease, lid shade, whatever your technique is, you may have to change it according to the brand of eyeshadow you're using, according to how that shadow is formulated, because the cream to powder and creamy matte, they do perform different than her metallics and her pearls. And so it's a learning experience. And so I learned that about Scott. I need to go lightly with Scott. I need to just say, hey, come on in, give him a hug, have him take his shoes off at the door, get him some water, show him where the bathroom is in case he needs to use it. You know, let him know he can hang out on the balcony if he wants to, and if he just wants to chill, have a seat on the sofa or the love seat. That's what I got to do with Scott. Natasha, I can come in and just be like, hey, sit down, chill out, and we cool. You know, with Scott, I got to ease into the process with him. And so, I'm talking like I know these people. So I hope that was helpful to you. And so if you have an eyeshadow palette, you're doing your usual technique, and it's just not working, the colors aren't showing up, it's difficult to blend, yada yada yada, just switch up your technique and see if that makes a difference. And so that's all I'm going to say. If this was helpful, let me know. Click like so my videos will pop up in the algorithm, and also subscribe if you haven't. If you have any requests for the Color Bomb palette or the Natural palette or any of the Natasha Denona palettes that I mentioned, let me know. And I also have a few Viseart palettes, and I have a playlist for everything. So if you ask for something, it might already be there, but I don't mind redoing stuff because I realized that even when I recreate looks I've done before, they look different because my technique has changed. With the Metropolis palette, I went back and redid looks I did before, and I actually liked them better the second time I did it than the first time I did it, even though I liked it the first time I did it, but the second time I loved it. I am seriously babbling. No, I have not had any Mountain Dew today. I'm just happy you're here, and I'm happy to be having this discussion with you. And so that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts. Share your experiences below. Let's help each other out. And you will see me in the next video.